So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are excited to have our ambassadors, spotlighting our ambassadors tonight for IHTI. Would definitely like to have you put in the chat box, all of you, the name and the city that you're joining us from, since most of us are family here. I am DeAndre Marshall, and I am the Director of Training for IHTI. As others join us, I will go back and maybe do just a highlight or two, but definitely want to say thank you so much for being here tonight with us. Um, we were chatting in a staff meeting and thought it was a good time, an appropriate time to talk to our ambassadors, to just look at what has occurred over the year. And with some of them who have been a part of the IHTI family, just going back and talking about the things that they have seen evolve since they've been on board, seemed like a great idea. And so we thank you. What we'll do for those of you who are joining us, if you have friends who you'd like to have see this video, we will put it up on our website, and it will be accessible to anyone who wants to hear us talk about being an ambassador. So before we get started, once again, I want to thank Olivia, who is on with us tonight. She's over operations for ICI. I want to appreciate her for being on board and sharing with us tonight and running the board for us. I want to also just give you all an idea of what it is to be an ambassador. Those of you who are ambassadors, you know, but for those of you who are listening to this, who don't know what being an ambassador is for IHTI, I want to talk about it being the locomotive for our organization, and as a part of the movement that we are in the process of eradicating human trafficking, which started out really as the city Metro Atlanta was to traffic proof the ATL, and has since moved to uh, traffic proofing the United States because at the point of the pandemic, we pivoted and we have been training all over the United States and in other countries as well. We started out with what was called the actionary training. And for many of you here tonight, you've heard about the actionary training. That training has been updated to the learn, see, do training. And that's what you'll see on the website and on Eventbrite if you refer people to the training. What we know is during the pandemic, there was 106% uptick in predators contacting our kids online. And with that came a cry from parents to us to talk about how they could traffic proof their children. And we created a parent slash adult deck that will give adults an opportunity to have conversations with their young people. And in that deck also there is another piece of information that is called I Am Little Red, that we share with those who request that they can train their children. They can talk to their children about human trafficking in an age appropriate way. So that video is available for children to watch and parents to have a conversation. So that's some of the things that we've been doing in the midst of the pandemic, as well as IHCI partnered with Men Stopping Violence and had some critical conversations with men. It was a conversation with men, by men, for men. Um, and so we've been busy during this time, but tonight I want to spotlight our ambassadors who are on with us tonight. We have Jesse Dagan is here tonight. Kedria Shepard is here. We also had Kat Doyle in the room earlier. I think she may still be here. Hey, Kat. And then we have Camille, who is joining us from across the waters. She is an ambassador, but is not actively training. And I see Chandra Southern is joining us right now. She's in the waiting room, but she's coming in. And Chandra has been also training. A lot of her training is done with our young people. Um, but what I do know about our ambassadors is that they are passionate about the work that they do. But we'll give them an opportunity in just a second to talk about what they've been doing in the midst of the pandemic, and what they've done for us throughout this year. So you guys, right now, I think, I'm not really certain, but I think we're right at about 25,000, which means we have how many more? 25 more to train. But we are actively engaged, and I talked a little bit about that earlier with who we are poised to train during the month of January through May. So we're trying to hit those numbers by June. And I see other ambassadors joining us, and I'm excited to have you guys in the room. So I'm going to start at the top over here with Jesse. And what I'd like for you all to do, for those who will be joining or seeing this later, is just tell who you are, what you do, if you're comfortable with that. And also tell us your why you connected with IHTI, and in the training arena with us. You know, what was your why for doing that? So Jesse, we'll start with you tonight.
Hi, everyone. As DeAndre said, my name is Jessie Dagan. Uh, in my other life, other than volunteering with IHTI, I am a government attorney. And what piqued my interest in volunteering is the fact that I started my legal career working with children that were part of the foster care system in the Chicago area. And I had approximately 200 children on my caseload between 0 and 21 years old. And I noticed that there was a crack in the system where, once they hit adolescent age and teenage years, people kind of forgot about them and they became victims. And as I stepped away from that arena, I still wanted to volunteer, and moving to Atlanta, IHTI was just the right fit for me.
Wow, wow, that's
Mhm.
awesome. I mean, you've been doing some critical work. And I know that because we often talk, and I thank you. Kat, we're gonna move over to you and let you introduce yourself and tell us what it is you do and your why.
Well, I'm Kat Doyle. I am actually the director of Justice and Peace Ministries for the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Atlanta. And what I do is really work with about 1.2 million Catholics around social issues. And as you all know, this is a huge social issue, both here in North Georgia, but also globally. The reason that I do this is I am part of a number of different groups that are looking at human trafficking, both labor and sex trafficking. I got involved with IHTI because I had been doing work with the U.S. Catholic Sisters Against Human Trafficking and the Catholic Coalition of Organization, or the Coalition of Catholic Organizations Against Human Trafficking. Um, this summer, I actually got my certification and expertise in labor trafficking from St. Thomas University. So, for the Catholic Church, I am the subject matter expert on both the sex and labor trafficking. I
Right.
do this because, as a people of God, we know that we're called to protect the most vulnerable, and those people being trafficked are indeed the most vulnerable. We are our brothers and sisters' keeper.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Kat. Appreciate you so much. Kat's a busy lady, and definitely appreciate her being on tonight with us. Kedria, we're coming your way, darling. Want to hear a little bit about who you are and your why.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I have you.
All right. So I don't know what's going on with my camera. So it's easier for me to look at you. So the question was, what what's my name, me introducing myself, and what brought me to be a part of this project. Is that correct?
Right, right.
Passion brought me to be a part of the project. I was inspired to do something of service And I can't remember exactly how it all came about, but it was divine for me to do it. I've been a part of the group now for a few years. And one of the things that I get the most out of it, I think, is really aiming towards helping the young people, those teenagers. It always stands out for me. And I guess because I work in the school system and I've shared personal stories before. So when I had the opportunity to facilitate with the Delta Sigma Thetas, the Jabwas, that was great. And even as the church, when I did that event, that was wonderful. And I believe it's like each time when you're a part of a group like this and you hear everyone on a call like we are now, and whether you go, if I come and visit to one of your events that you're facilitating, I gain so much more and I look at life different, and it makes you want to advocate and be more of an advocate each day, just from your normal walks of life. I think I've shared even some personal stories with you
Right.
from my niece, some things that happened not here long ago. And it lets me know that people, even during these times, people are still out here trying. And I'm always advocating, like, if you see something, say something. And I think if more people were aware, it would cause, it could save a life.
Right.
It can cause for someone's child to not be trafficked unknowingly. I think that's the thing, we have a lack of not knowing, and that's the thing that would, could end up ending a child's life, and not necessarily physical life, but mental life. If you have gone through something like that, I know we've all seen enough movies, and to go through an experience of something like that, that type of trauma, it stays with you.
Right.
So again, I like both sides. I like advocating for it, and I like mentoring people that have experienced it.
Right. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kedria. I appreciate you being here tonight. Kedria and I have shared in some training, so I definitely know that she's passionate about this, and the work she does with her kids. So I'm going to skip over to Camille. She's on tonight. Camille, I don't know what your connection is like, but I did want to make sure that gave you an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell. I know when I remember when you were contacting me about taking the training.
Yeah.
Just want to give you an opportunity to talk about your why, the work that you're doing where you are now.
Okay, well, I had just typed in the chat box for those who just came on that I am from Trinidad. And what happened was I became interested in human trafficking after completing my doctoral thesis in intimate partner violence. And the reason why I became interested in human trafficking is because of the aspect of victimization and abuse. But as a sociologist, I am also interested in looking at human trafficking as a system because we are very close to Venezuela. Currently, because of COVID and economic and political crises faced by both Venezuela and my country, there is the issue of human trafficking. A lot of migrants come to our country, but they're illegal and they're also being smuggled and trafficked through our country.
Mhm.
But we do not have the resources to study it. Very few NGOs are tackling it. And I thought I would get into the area of research and educating people. So I reached out to I, ITHI because of the work that they were doing. They were constantly on social media, and I was looking at the data, and I got an opportunity to liaise with DeAndre, who is very helpful. So I got some training in several of the sessions, and I was able to rely on their data for one or two events we had here. And I continue following their work, and hopefully we'll find a niche in my own country to proceed.
Great, great. So you guys, that I talked about that at the beginning, but for those of you who are joining a little later, just wanted to mention that because of the fact that we pivoted, and a lot of people are, have complained about pivoting, but for IHTI, it has really been a blessing for us because we are on Eventbrite as well as on Zoom, and people all over the country. I mean, as far I've had a couple of men who have joined us from Africa, who became ambassadors who were in Africa, but they wanted to take the information and use it in their own countries. I've had some people from Australia, I mean, just all over, who have joined us to just learn more about human trafficking from the perspective of a trafficker and a predator, and not so much the victim. So, it's been all good. So thanks, Camille. Want to move now down to Chandra.
You're welcome.
Move down to Chandra. And Chandra, I think you trained over at where were we? I remember you when you trained with us. It was probably about 15 or 20 of your sorors, right?
Well, I did the training prior to having the sorors come.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so for me, it's been a couple of years. I just haven't been able to be active since
Yeah.
COVID because
Uh-huh.
I've been busy working like 13 hours. So, but I'm Chandra Southern. I am the founder and executive director of Delivered Vessels Incorporated. We are a nonprofit that prevents child sexual abuse and exploitation. I joined the International Human Trafficking Institute. I'm not sure how many years ago, but my advocacy goes back to 1999 and 2000 when I first moved here to Atlanta, Georgia. I was a CASA, and at that time they had the CASA, the Victims of Prostitution Unit. It was called VOP. So we worked strictly with young girls that were victims of prostitution, and this is where I first learned about human trafficking, and I've been advocating ever since. My main focus is to get the word out, to keep our community involved, to let them know that it is really happening here in our backyard. And so that is my why. Is I'm passionate about it. I love the children. And I could relate to how some of our young girls had to deal with abuse and what made them more vulnerable to be pulled into human trafficking. And I could relate to it. I actually had a story when I first moved here to Atlanta, not realizing that the individuals I was dealing with were actually pimps, which I didn't find out until afterwards. So I feel very passionate, and as an adult, how easy it could have been for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's even more easier for youth to be involved in it. So that's why I'm here. And I thank you, DeAndre, for always inviting us to come out.
And thank you so much. Chandra shared that story before about the incident, and it's so easy. I mean, that's a lot of times what happens to our kids even today, just not knowing, not having the knowledge. Erica's here. Erica does trainings with us with a lot of times with our kids. I call on Erica because she has two young men that she's raising, wonderful guys, and she will jump in with our parents and go as far as teaching them how to use their devices because it's necessary. So Erica, want you to introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what it is that you do, and then also share your why you are a part of the ambassador program with IHTI.
So it's actually kind of funny. It's interesting, but I'm a member of the Junior League of Atlanta, and we have education credits that we have to get. And so they were offering around Super Bowl last year before, I don't know, 2020 is such a blur. But whenever Super Bowl was here, they had a training with IHTI. And my plan was to only go to one session because all I needed was one more credit to complete my education requirement with JLA. And so when I walked in, I saw Deborah Richardson. And I am also a member of Women of Solidarity, which is for the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. We helped raise the money for the center as well as some programming things. God, I think I just pulled up old Facebook pictures. It was like 7 or 8 years ago. So I saw her and was like, wow, okay, great. So it's almost divine intervention. But when I attended that training, it was just so mind-boggling because human and sex trafficking was something I had never thought of. It's just something that I hadn't given any thought to. And I do child advocacy 0 through 5. And what I noticed was that the Child Wellbeing Index from United Way is the same one that we use for trying to get children into schools in the state of Georgia. More importantly for me, I work a lot with the Washington Douglas cluster. And so I ended up doing all the entire sessions and becoming an ambassador. And then from then, I was going to all the things that the center had to offer. Last year, pre-COVID, we had that, was it like the day at the center?
Yeah.
I think, Leandra? Yeah, where I participated in training and some mock-ups with some of the teen girls there. It was a ton of fun. But from there, we started hearing about how they were talking to the children through these DMs. And I now have a newly 11-year-old as of last month, and I have a 14-year-old. And so at the time, I guess my kids were like 9 and 12, somewhere around there. And I'm like, what is this? Like one more thing to worry about, right? And so I got really, really engaged in that portion of it and started doing my researches and figuring out how you could, because originally you're just checking your kids' messages to see what they're saying to their friends and making sure that's all okay. But with these DMs, they're the strangers. And so, it's no more of that stranger danger. You tell them when they're kids, they're coming into their living room. And so that's my real big passion now. I've even found out some more things, Deandra, in my own home, because they're coming through the snaps, right? And so the predators, and although my children have never been well, to my knowledge, predators never reached out to them. There's still been, with my older son, friends of friends, where I said, well, who is this? Well, this is so-and-so friend I met them. Well, they seem like they're grown, And so one of the things I like to do during the training is to talk to the parents and teach them about that digital piece of it, as well as like tracking your child if they have that iPhone, putting that GPS on there, and then letting them know, because there's so many things that several people have said it. It's just awareness, right? And so you're not aware of these things as a parent. And, they can meet your child at the mall or wherever else, and you think it's all good, and it's not. And so that's what I've really been engaged with, even here through quarantine. If there's a time I can pick up a training, I like to pick it up and train parents. I held a couple on my own. People still are like, I don't want to say reluctant, but it's not a priority for them. But it's something that I talk to parents about every time I'm with them about different things. And I say, oh, well, I never knew that. Because I'll send out something and people say they're interested, but then not that many get on. But I don't think that they really understand the need of how these people are coming into our homes.
Right.
Everybody that has ever taken a training has been floored by it. And it's like, thank God that I had this information, because I didn't even realize, even with Roblox, you're so concerned with Call of Duty and the killing and all that we're missing this whole other piece of how these predators can come into our home and get our children. So that's what I've my passion is at this point. I love Little Red. I love the Little Red training, and I just love to talk to parents about what they can do to keep their kids safe.
God, you guys are making me so excited about the work that we do. Just hearing you talk about, how it has impacted your life. We had another ambassador join us. She's from out in my neck of the woods, Jessica Frazier. Jessica, you want to come on and tell us who you are? If you're comfortable with saying what you do, you can. If not, you can pass it over. And just to tell us your why, when you connected with IHTI, what was the reason why you connected? Are you talking and you're on mute? I'm not sure.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, I had to unmute. Hello, everybody. My name is Jessica Frazier, and my why is the whole kit and caboodle. So I was sexually exploited at 14 in Texas by a preacher, and been around it most of my youth and didn't know what I was seeing. There was no name for it back then. I remember being 16, and we knew, the teenagers in the neighborhood knew, that a mom in our neighborhood was selling her 9-year-old daughter for drug money or drugs. And so we knew that if we knew this, the adults in our neighborhood knew this. but nobody did anything to
Right.
help that child. And so that was many, many, many moons ago. I still pray for that little girl wherever she is in the world, that she is healed, because I know she can be, because I am. You know, you don't get over it, but you have to learn how to, you know, cope. And so that's what I do. I teach other young ladies that have experienced this. I coach them through this.
Right.
I'm an adolescent life coach. I'm the founder of Straight Street Life Center. Up under Straight Street, I do trainings as well. But the connection with the International Human Trafficking Institute was just another level when Miss Marshall was like, well, this is how many people we're trying to reach. I'm like, yes, I'm in. Because I just believe, I think I've said it to her before, we're on the same team,
Right.
you know, and my mantra is awareness is frontline strategy. So with that being said, wherever the bullhorns are, that's where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jessica, for number one, for your transparency in sharing your story. I definitely appreciate that, because for not just the folk who are on tonight with us, but for those who will listen to this, to know that not only do we have movers and shakers as ambassadors, but we have people who understand the plight of those who have been involved in trafficking and in
Yes.
situations that they had no control over. And so definitely appreciate all of you for sharing your why. I don't think that I'm not sure if you all know why I actually became engaged with IHTI, but I will share that about 20 years ago, I mean, I've known Deborah for a long time, but about 20 years ago, when the first safe house was opened in South Fulton, that was my introduction into human trafficking, when I was hired by Fulton County to do art therapy for girls who were previously trafficked. But at that time, they were calling them prostitutes. You guys know that. And my life was changed forever after going out and spending time with those kids, because really they were kids who had been involved in adult activity, but at the heart of it, they were still kids. I mean, they still wanted to do art projects, and it just really drew me to them even the more. So off and on, ever since then, I have been working alongside Deborah with this movement, um, to, you know, to bring about a change, to make a difference. And that's what, you know, that's what I hope that that we are doing as we continue to have these trainings, and continuing to educate the community about human trafficking. I mean, it's just so much that's happening, even in the midst of the pandemic, you guys. I mean, you know, you hear it, you're doing the work, so you hear that this is happening. I want to transition a little bit and just talk about the trainings that you facilitated. I'll start with Jesse. Once again, we'll go back and hear your voice. We do have them, pardon me, we do have one guest who's on tonight. That's Faith. Faith, would you introduce yourself as well? Just tell us who you are, and even your why for joining us tonight.
Sure. Thank you for acknowledging. My name is Faith. I'm actually driving to work at the moment, so I apologize. I'll make
Okay.
this brief. I received an invitation from a colleague, a coworker, um, within an organization that I currently work in,
Uh-huh.
and I get involved to learn more about other resources and trainings available. My why, I work with youth within the state of Georgia, 12 to 17, within an organization that is doing some pivotal, crucial work in our communities that service youth, adolescents, women who have experienced human trafficking, who are at risk of being commercially and sexually exploited. And in terms of my why, I have to agree with all the resounding, comments made from the women tonight. It is passion, it is experience, it is exposure, and it's also curiosity. I want to learn more so I can better serve. So thank you so much for acknowledging my presence. That was very kind.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And we would love to have you to register for one of our trainings so that you can get additional information. I'm sure I have your email now. I'll bug you until you until you register. But be careful driving. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. And so we're going to transition over to Jesse. And Jesse, in doing the trainings for as long as you've been doing them now, I'm sure that you have come across a training that it sticks with you. Maybe it was a question that someone asked, or maybe it was a situation that transpired. But definitely want to have everyone thinking about that as we come back around to you to talk about a training that was impactful that you facilitated.
Yes, I had to get off mute. So January, I will have been volunteering 4 years with IHTI. So I'm excited to hit this milestone and do look forward to many more years ahead. I guess you can say I have two, because when I first volunteered, we we were starting the process of preparing for the Super Bowl here in Atlanta. And so the goal, Atlanta was preparing to have trained 10,000 volunteers for the Super Bowl weekend. So that was my first step of participating and volunteering with IHTI. And I would have to say, you had so many people from around the Atlanta metro area. And when you start with the training, I would say it's a moment of silence. And you understand that, these are things, I think, because we're so much a little bit in a cocoon in our lives and we're comfortable, that it's a wake-up call, and it prompts people to want to do more. And that's what prompted me to want to volunteer more, not just for the Super Bowl, but going forward, because you saw the effect that it had in wanting people to want to take action in their communities, in their neighborhoods, in the Atlanta metro area. And then just most recently, it was, I believe Erica mentioned the day, Human Trafficking Awareness Day at the center. And that was a wonderful experience too, because it was an opportunity for those who were visiting the center, but also wanted to see we had live interactive activities, presentations, everything. And you just see that, hey, it awakens something in you and those that you are facilitating training for, that this is something that we can do. And it's just one person, one step that can make a change in our community. And it's our direct community.
Yeah, great observation. Kat, you've done this for so long. I'm sure you have tons of stories. You've trained tons of people, but can you share just one such facilitation that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, actually, I'll have two, but
Okay.
the first one is pretty amazing. When this first started, and we started really reaching out and training in large groups, we actually set up and trained the Atlanta United supporters. So as many of you know, there are four formal Atlanta United supporters groups. And we reached out to those groups and invited them to come together for a training. And we reached out to this group because this is a group of people we know here in the Atlanta area. They're young, they're mobile, they have expendable cash. They see things happening that they don't realize what they're seeing.
Right.
And so when we brought them together and we said, we want to make you aware because we now challenge you to go out and we want you to talk to 10 friends who are these young adults who are in the thick of it, who are traveling around the country, who are going to concerts, who are going to sporting events, who are doing all of these things. And at the end of this, it was kind of, there was, Jesse, you talked about that moment of silence at the beginning, but at the end, when people were just almost too shocked to even know what to say. And that was pretty amazing. The other thing is switching and moving away from the sex trafficking to the labor trafficking, because we know that in the Catholic Church there are a large number of Hispanics in the Catholic Church, and we know that there is a huge amount of labor trafficking that goes on in that immigrant community. And so the other thing that I've been really fortunate to be able to do is to educate and raise awareness around the labor trafficking and the intersection of sex and labor trafficking, and that is with the illicit massage parlors. And as a group, that is what we've decided for 2021 that we're going to focus on, because that is literally the nexus between the labor trafficking and the sex trafficking. So those are just a couple of things. And I've been doing this, oh my gosh, since I was when we did the sticky notes on all the pieces of paper at the center and all that. So I don't know how many years it's been.
Oh, yeah, I know. But that was a great observation. And there definitely is an intersection between the labor and the sex. It's just that people don't recognize it, just like you say. They just don't. Thanks, Kat, for sharing. Erica, we're moving over to you again. Are you there with us? Oh, she moved. Okay. You on mute, Erica.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm trying to like finish dinner.
Oh, okay.
So one thing that stands out in my mind, I think when you're training the people, a big piece is the human trafficking, right? So you might think you know something about sex trafficking, but you don't know anything about the human trafficking. And so when we talk about, when you say how many, slaves do you have in your home and signs to look for, I think that moves people a lot. And one of the stories, let me just think of I had someone in my training who's actually also a friend of mine, and she was telling me that when we were talking about, parents and the Instagram and all that to look at, you have to be careful what you post online, which we know that to a certain extent. But this particular girl had been posting, and parents do this now too, that she was going to go to Howard and she's excited to go to school. And one of these gentlemen befriended her, through the DM and this, that, and the other. So she thinks that they're friends, also going to be in the DC area. And when she gets up there, they actually end up taking her and trafficking her.
Oh.
And so from there she was able to get out, but just being mindful. So it's like very moving because you say it, but to really have a live example of it.
Right.
When I was presenting that training, people were like, whoa. And it's something that, we all do. And I know that friends, especially with children that play sports, they won't even tell you. You might ask in passing now, what are they thinking about school? We're not telling yet, because they want to make this big announcement online. But again, it goes back to the DMs and noticing that. So I think that was probably the most impactful thing for me in a training. And then just overall now, I don't know if you guys watched the news, but recently that boy who was 15, I don't think they've even found his body, but the last thing that they saw is he was communicating with a 19-year-old on Snap. And then they had a picture of him in the liquor store with that young man, and he's still missing.
No.
Yeah, this is recent, within the last 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
And so I know when I'm training, I like to give those stories, real life examples, and then people are like, whoa.
Yeah.
But the girl that went to Howard, I thought that was just absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And something I would have never ever thought of, that somebody, but that's how they become friends now. In our generation, you became friends when you saw somebody. These people now become friends or through the social media, and she really thought they were her friends. So
yeah, just so you know, once, when we talk about vulnerability, people don't understand that we're not just talking about a specific group. A lot of times young people are vulnerable and people don't realize that that's a vulnerability. Just, So thanks, Erica. I'm sorry for interrupting your
No,
dinner.
no, no, you're, no, 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 no. I've already made dinner. The kids didn't have any vegetables, so I was just making some spinach. So I go, let me make some spinach while people are talking, but no, I'm fine.
Kedria, we're coming back over to you, darling. You want to tell us, oh, I think you shared about the, when we trained up in, where were we, Gwinnett County? Kedria may have stepped away. I know she had some things going on. Jessica, you want to chat with us a little bit and tell us about something that you have done that's impactful as far as the facilitating of a training? So I know, let me just give you guys, Jessica is pretty new to us, but what I do know that I'm not sure if her system is working, but Jessica recently was able to engage one of the congregations out in Douglas County in signing up to do a training. And so we're circling back to them again. But I know that she was advocating to do that for Jessica. Your
I'm here.
okay, I was about to say your system is up really loud.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good. You're
Okay.
good.
So, man, that little red was amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing it the first time at Chandra's event that she had us on the panel of.
Right.
And it's just an amazing, amazing tool.
Right. Yeah.
Very impactful.
Yes.
I haven't seen anything like that.
Right.
Out of all the, out of everything I've seen, because I also, use Shared Hope's resources, but
Right.
there's nothing like Little Red. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I Am Little Red is something that we are trying now, just to give you guys a heads up. And if you know of anyone in the library system, we're trying to reach out to the library system to make it available for parents to check out. So we are in a couple of counties right now making those connections. But if you know of someone else, or if you're watching this and you know of someone else who could help us to get that into the libraries, that would be awesome. So we are right at about 15 minutes away from closing, but I wanted to give us an opportunity to just share anything that you would, think that we could use as a tool going forward as ambassadors. Actually, I have an ambassador training this Saturday. Where I'm going to be training. We are also training a couple of Spanish speakers who will be, once again, we had that training happening during the summer, but our trainers were school teachers. And if you guys know anything about what's going on right now, their hands are full. So we had to reach back out to try to get some additional Spanish speaking trainers to be able to facilitate those trainings for us, because we've had people ask us for the trainings, but so that's something that we have upcoming. But I wanted to just give you an opportunity to just see if that was anything that you would like to have us look into as ambassadors, something that you're thinking maybe this would be something good for us to do. We're always open to suggestions. Kat has been awesome with making suggestions for us. So definitely, if you think of something, would love to hear that. Yeah, so no one has anything. I got it. All right. Caught you guys off guard.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. Can you repeat it?
Yeah. I was just asking any of the ambassadors if you guys had anything that you maybe wanted to suggest to us as we march into 2021. we don't really know what that's going to look like. We're looking for some things to occur. But if you have any suggestions about things that you think we should maybe take a look at as far as trainings are concerned, would love to hear your feedback. And then for those of you who are watching this online, not at this time when we're taping it, but if you are watching online and if you have any suggestions, you can definitely send them to my email, and I will respond to let you know that we've received your suggestions. But Kat, you came on. Did you have anything that you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, one of the things that we're looking at, and I think that it would make sense for IHTI, is that we're working really hard to create relationships with local law enforcement at our places of worship, at our parishes.
Mhm.
And one of the things that we are planning to do in this evolving relationship with law enforcement is we're looking to work with them to identify and figure out a process by which we can identify and do something about the illicit massage parlors. So we're taking that relationship building with law enforcement and weaving it into the fight against human trafficking. So that is actually accomplishing a couple of things together. And I think it's something IHTI could possibly take a look at doing on a much
Right.
broader basis.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great suggestion. I know at one time, they were, Deborah was working with the hotel industry, and we've done some things with the hotels, but the massage parlors is a good space to working in. I know that people ask us all the time about the nail salons because, we have that piece in our trainings about the nail salons. And I've had some groups ask how they could go about, looking at that as a project. So we are, looking at that now. So that's the massage parlors, and then you have the nail salons. So um, did anyone else have any suggestions for any other groups that we might want to, any suggestions that we might want to look at as far as rolling out something different in January? So some of you guys may not have been on when I talked about the things that we're going to do in January. I'm going to go back over those. We are actually going to,
Camille has her hand up.
Olivia, you're up. Your mic is up.
Yes, Camille has something that she'd like to say.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, her hand is up. Oh, okay. I missed that. Okay, Camille, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
Let's say if COVID has somehow subsided and people are able to travel, does IHTI or any of the organizations here tonight allow for people to volunteer? So let's say if I'm coming to the US for a month or two, can I reach out and just volunteer and do some of the work that you all are doing as a volunteer?
Sure. If you are traveling to the, once we are the lift is up on the travel, then definitely, you're already trained with us. If you come stateside, we'd love to have you to be able to train. You have sat through all of our trainings and many of our critical conversations, you guys. Camille is faithful in attending. So definitely, Camille, let me know if you get here to the States. We'd love to have you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Erica, you are muted.
Okay, so I want to kind of circle back. I know, pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, we were going to do something with Cobb County, team up and do something with Cobb County prior to them starting early voting, but then that was right at COVID. But I want to circle back around to that, and do something maybe virtually. I'm also thinking, we have 3 new commissioners now.
Right.
And the commissioner chair was who was actually going to get the facility for us to team up with Cobb County.
Yeah.
And so I haven't addressed it because it was so crazy in the campaign mode at the time. But one of the things, they sent out a survey and asked, and I should have put this on there, but they asked like what did we want to see in the county
Mhm.
District 2, which is my district. And what would we be interested in helping with? And I said anything around education. So I think this is education too. But I
Right.
think I'll go back and I'll reiterate, because I was actually thinking in terms of early childhood education. But I think I'll go back and I'll reiterate something like this. And now, since we have moved to virtual, the whole world, I think it would be a good idea for me to reach back out to them January-ish, once they're actually,
Back in session.
yeah, and see
Yeah.
what we can do. And then, we also have here in Cobb, which I'm sure his hands will be full, with the Ahmaud Arbery case and
Yeah.
everything else, but we have a new DA as well as a new sheriff, right? And
Right.
so, yeah, I just think I think it would be a good idea to reach back out to those people and try to come up with something and
Yeah.
do some
I
training.
think, yeah, I think that would be great, Erica. And you're right. We were right at the point of making that happen in Cobb County, and that is one of the counties that we, are targeting. So, let's definitely talk about how we can make that happen.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, so let's look at that.
yeah,
Let's
I think.
definitely look at that.
I wish I put on those. I'm just going to circle back around and say, and I'm also interested in helping with with this piece,
Right, exactly. Yeah,
and because one
yeah,
of the things is, I think once people are exposed to it and once you see the training, you're like, wow, more people need to know about this. And it's
right,
just getting it to the right people and getting them engaged.
right,
And with us having pretty much all new administration in Cobb, thank Jesus, and us now being blue. I think that that's an opportunity
right,
to present and bring in some of these programs.
right. Yeah, definitely,
And
definitely.
another thing is even teaming up with, and you know, in Cobb we even have a new school board member, and
Mm,
so Cobb is not progressive, historically progressive, but the new school board member and then a couple other members are moving forward. So it might be even something to present to them.
yeah,
So I'm working on something now to get the school board members, the commissioners, the state reps all together for like a virtual town hall. And they've all been very receptive. It's just crazy in December to try to get everybody's calendars together.
right. Yeah,
So that's something to put on there too.
yeah. Okay, so I have that written down. I think, we're shooting for January with new
Okay.
programming, and which leads me to where I want to go for the next couple of minutes. I just want to tell you guys what's on deck with us. So, you can help us roll this out. I definitely understand that folks' schedules have been crazy. I get it. I totally get it. But I want to let you know that we are in January going to host the eye-opening experience, but we're going to do it virtually. But it's going to be neat. It's going to be a nice piece. And I am actually now looking for actors and actresses. I have a few lined up, but I could definitely use a couple of more. If you guys know anyone who would be interested in doing some taping for us. And so it'll be virtual. So that's one thing that we'll host during the month of January. So since it is virtual, we'll be able to do it all month long. The other thing that we're doing is I mentioned that we have a new program that we're going to roll out with boys who are in middle school, boys who are in high school, and young men who are in college. So we have relationships with Kennesaw State College, Georgia State, Georgia Highlands, and it's one other college that we are partnering with to begin these conversations with their adult men. But it's called FAM. It's called Fortified, which is built off of that game. What's the name of the game, you guys? Fortnite. So it's Fortified, and it is addressing male messaging. Addressing male messaging. So it's FAM, Fortified, semicolon, addressing male messaging. And what they're going to be doing is having conversations, which will be facilitated by a gentleman for young men and boys, to just talk about some critical conversations to give them an idea of how this begins, how you know, how this starts, like with the pornography piece, with how they think and look at women, how they treat women. So he'll have all of these conversations. He'll have guests, invited guests will be there as well for these conversations. So I will definitely be reaching out to you guys again. So if you have male children in your household, to ask them to sign in. We're looking at having some type of little trinkets, more than a trinket. I mean, we're looking at something that if they attend all 4 sessions, that we'll have a drawing, and, you know, they could possibly win. I was looking at that new game that, what is it called? PS5 or something, but I'm not sure. Anyway, it'll probably be gift cards. But so that's happening. So those 2 things will be happening during the month of January, as well as all of our trainings. So we'll be hosting our trainings as well. The Learn, See, Do, the youth trainings, and all of that will be taking place. So definitely want you guys to stay engaged. Definitely want you to have folk join us. And if you think of anything between now and January, let me know. So listen, I don't want to hold you past 8. I want to thank you guys so much for taking this hour out of your time to join us tonight for this conversation. It is more than good to see each of you on camera. It has been a chore for me to not have you with me in trainings or just meeting up. This has been different. Everyone knows that, but I am most grateful for you being here tonight. Deborah would have been here, but she had an engagement. So she will listen to this at a later date and probably reach out to you guys. But definitely want to say thank you for all that you do, for your continued work, all of you in whatever aspect that you are doing the work. I appreciate it. For our guests tonight joining us, Faith, we appreciate you being on the call tonight as well. So listen, as I exit normally my trainings, I always tell people to be safe, stay well, and of course, to use wisdom. Night, you guys.